Hello, ladies, gentlemen, and deceased. It is I, Emily Sophia, aka Mighty Sophia, here to break down for you guys a little bit belatedly, but nonetheless on this spooky Halloween, the second episode of the 7th season of The Walking Dead. We are on the episode that is entitled The Well, and yes, there shall indeed be a well of spoilers in this review, so if you are not caught up on all of the latest happenings in the Walking Dead universe, I would encourage you to put this review on pause and then hightail it on back here for my insights and reactions. So without further ado, let's do this thing. I'm sorry, this review is up late, actually. I have been battling a cold, and last night was a very bad night for me, so we are here, and we are in the kingdom. So let's talk about that. We not only got to spend some time with our post-apocalyptic sojourners, Carol and Morgan, but we also got a grandiose introduction to King Ezekiel himself, the proprietor of the kingdom. It's a far lovelier and more clean and pristine and serene place as compared to just about anywhere we have been in the past on this show. And let me tell you, this is a much, much, much needed change of pace, in my humble opinion. It is really exciting to be introduced to these new facets of the post-apocalyptic landscape, one that we think that we know well and that we have explored every nook and cranny of, but as it would turn out, King Ezekiel has established for himself an incredibly stable and lush and sustainable domain, the sustainability of which, I'm so sorry, my voice is not functioning properly, so I am probably going to mispronounce some words, but the sustainability of the kingdom is only threatened by King Ezekiel's ties to the saviors, who unfortunately seem to have subjugated just about every community in this entire expanse, this state, this area, this province, whatever the crap you want to call it. The saviors are all up in everybody's business, and it is the duty of King Ezekiel and his closest followers and cohorts to appease the saviors and to meet their demands such that they can continue, to have a safe and productive place for their people to live. And it's super interesting how Ezekiel kind of reveals himself and who he is and what he's all about over the course of the episode, and ultimately ends up bearing all to Carol, who is doing her damnedest to wriggle out from the grasp of any semblance of society, because if you guys recall, she decided to peace out from Alexandria, from all of her friends and companions, and live a life of hermitude, ostensibly. Not a choice that I was super thrilled about in the context of her character, because, but at the same time, you know, is this new incarnation of Carol any less legitimate than the apocalyptic warrior queen that she emerged as in the past couple of seasons? Like, I question the sustainability of that arc for her character. She's definitely reached a breaking point, and while it was really disappointing to see her split ways with her former companions, with the people that she's been with this entire time, it more or less kind of makes sense for her. I mean, she's been grappling with her humanity and her ability to relate to and live with others in a really fascinating way. And so this episode sees her trying to deal with this absolute caricature, this circus, as she calls it. You know, how do you contend with this this utopia when you have been so immersed in the hell that is outside? Isn't this just another ship to wreck, you know? Isn't this just another thing that she could lose? So why bother to become a part of this society, especially one that that has ties to the saviors of all people? And both Morgan and Ezekiel try to do their parts to persuade her that yes, there is a way that you can assimilate. There is a way that you can have a place in this world. And I mean, for as much good as we thought that Rick managed to do in Alexandria and trying to prep that community to deal with the impending threat of walkers and other human antagonists, his efforts by far pale in comparison to what Ezekiel has got going on. He understands the need to step up as a leader, and it's fascinating because that's going to be juxtaposed with Rick stepping down after his actions have ultimately led him and his crew to this very dark and bleak place of servitude to Negan and the Saviors. Oh gosh, my sinuses are so terrible. But anyways, yeah, I really loved the story that he related to Carol at the end of how he was the zookeeper who was able to save Shiva, and now he has taken on the mythos of this king, of this mighty ruler. He even orates in the fashion of a king, of some character from Shakespearean lore. He puts on this fiction, but he embraces the contradiction of his life, of his image, and realizes that this persona as a king, as a mighty and just ruler, is just an extension of his overwhelming desire to do good in a world that has succumbed to so much evil and depravity. There's this part of him that yearns to effect a positive change. And so why not don the robe and strut about with his tiger, you know? Why not just give in to this? And so he does. He creates a mythology and a sense of hope that people can rally around. Stories that his followers can tell. And what's interesting is that, at least from this point, it seems that it's not about, he's not trying to make it about him and his ego. You know, he's no governor. He is just a person who saw a need and who found that he had the resources and ability and intellect to be able to construct this identity and this source of hope for the future. Basically, it's super bizarre and crazy, and he concedes to that over and over again. You know, he has no qualms about admitting how utterly bizarre all of this is, and that transparency is what leads me to believe that this guy is pretty legit, you know? And now, there's something interesting to be said of him offering the fruit to Carol and then her rejection of said fruit, because it kind of makes you think of this Garden of Eden style scenario. Is he just the serpent who is extending a fruit in order to tempt and ultimately seduce someone like Carol into following his reign and his agenda? Or is this just an ornate act of of hospitality? You know, I am an absolute fruit monger, so dude, I'm gonna take whatever is being passed on to me. But Carol, of course, resists that with every fiber of her being, regardless of how ailing she is in terms of her health. But I also like the respect with which Morgan treats her, and then he also enters into this mentorship with Benjamin, who it seems that Ezekiel is grooming him for a position of authority, whether it's just for the distant future, or Ezekiel sees a very soon to come need for another leader. But yeah, Ezekiel employs Morgan for that task, and although he resists initially, I think he's able to impart some good wisdom to this kid who is not utterly unlikable yet. That's another facet of this episode that I enjoy, is that there wasn't a single character, I mean, aside from the saviors, that I was just like, man, these people are weird and fake and ill-equipped. Like, the adherents of the kingdom, they seem to have an understanding of what's outside, but they know how to keep their insides healthy. And whoa, boy, is that something that Rick and company absolutely failed at in just the finest fashion. So this isn't always a breath of fresh air, but it also makes me incredibly nervous, because I would hate to see this kind of community laid to waste by something that I know is going to be attached to Rick and his group. It absolutely has to be. But maybe there's going to be a conglomerate of post-apocalyptic communities and societies that are going to come together to ultimately take down the saviors in just like a mass kind of world war, or like East, Southeast United States of America war. Whatever you want to call it, it's gonna go down sometime. But this is a place of beauty and idealism and intellect and knowledge and all of these things that seem to have been swept away with the tide of the plague that's taken everybody out. But yeah, the hope is real. They even had a very nice a cappella rendition of the Bob Dylan song, Don't Think Twice, It's All Right. So that was a very nice musical touch. Yeah, there's so much to like about this episode, and I really want to expand upon it further, but unfortunately this review is a little behind, so I'm going to have to jet out soon here. But props to the special effects team on bringing Shiva to life, by the way. Absolutely incredible. Just such a fabulous way to offset the dreariness and the bland forests and dilapidated towns that we've encountered time and time again in the show. The kingdom is really where it's at. And Ezekiel really seems to know what he's doing, and I think that Rick could learn a hell of a lot from this guy. You know, we've gone from the Ricktatorship to, oh god, just everything in the past few years. I want to believe in Ezekiel. I would hate to see him outed as some kind of criminal, but I don't think that that's going to be the case this time around. I mean, call me too optimistic, but I have reason to trust this guy. I don't know if you guys do too, but he really seems to have a firm head on his shoulders and some awesome freaking dreads. So, yeah. And now Carol has kind of found her place on the outskirts of the kingdom's community, and Ezekiel is still keeping the faith and keeping a good, strong tie with her. A lot of positivity, yo. It's not going to last for long, but let's consider this an oasis, a mirage of splendor and joy and wonderment. I am going to cling on to that for the days to come. So let me know your thoughts. Does this breathe new hope in your life for the prospects of this season? I know it does for me, but at the same time, this could just be a one-off, and everything is going to go to hell very quickly. But I'm going to cling to this happiness for the time being. So, anything I forgot, bring it up in the comments below. Love you guys. Thanks for tapping into my review. And now, yeah, take care. And as always, I will see you in no time.